It's an advanced bar skills presentation. Markelovs, also called Horkinas, tkatchevs, and double layouts. Here are a few cautions. One, fear. So a lot of these have a lot of fear involved, and one wrong move and the kid is not going to do it. I mean, I did that, so I want to make sure that no one does that to their kid unintentionally. Do they want to do it? So if they don't really want to, God, it's such a fight, and I don't know if it's worth it. And you can't overdo it with too many lead ups, because when they're begging you to do that next step, that's the scary part. You're so excited. And try to use secondary purpose when you're getting numbers done, because that's really important as well. And that helps them to get going faster and faster. And then praise, 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 because that builds confidence. So for markelovs, the basics that are needed, one of them is you have to get into it. So you can do a cow hop, or you need a blind change, but you need a way into that skill. And then a single tap front giant. They have to come back in a reverse glide shape. So that's another strength item you'll see on the next slides. There's a strength video that they have to be able to do. Fall flat, keep your shoulders open. It's very, very difficult to go that low. She's actually pretty strong at this. One of the skills that I always do is reverse glides, and you're trying to keep your legs parallel to the floor, nice and horizontal, and it takes a lot of strength in the markelov. Really necessary. They need a single tap front giant, but it doesn't necessarily have to go over the bar, although it can't hurt, because then you know they have a lot more power and good reverse glide. The first easiest way is to flick and straddle on the bar. And you just do lots and lots of those until they feel comfortable enough to tuck on over the bar. No flick, tuck over the bars is the next step. And it just takes a lot of repetition until they're not afraid to just flick and over. Instead of flick, push on the bar, and then go over, you want to release and then go over the bar. These are some drills to work on the turnaround, since turning around first before going over the bar is the hardest part. That one straddles unsquarely. Here are some more drills that kind of are easier to set up, some with a fast track bar. Bouncing and trying to go over flat body is one of the hard parts of this skill. So if you turn around in a pike, you're much more likely to hit your heels. So we're trying to go over flat. So these are some straight drills before you work on turning around. This one was unsquare, so we have to get sharp, crisp turns so that you don't end up crooked over the bar. This one's a little better, but pikes early. And this one coming up is a little flatter and turns a little bit better. The next step that's really difficult is what I'm calling the Superman way to go over the bar. So you're trying to fly really flat onto your stomach, because you're trying to go over without piking. Then you want to start working on the turn, but it's harder to go over flat and then turn. So sometimes kids will resort back to tucking over. But if you can get over flat and then turn, that's the better way to do it. I tried to show you where the stopped position is so that you could see that they're turning around before going over the bar. And they should have their feet as close together as you can before they straddle. And that would make a better, more square markelov. And here's the final result. And one more of the final results of the girl who was learning it to begin with. This was when she was new at it. Now we're on to tkatchev strength, and this is one of the strength items we do because you want to be able to push out, get the chest down, and you have to work the bar, so that strength is really, really important. Lots of it. Here's just some chest lifts that you can do, and this is just a strengthening so they can work and bend the bar as much as they can. Here's our first step, which is bounce bar. So you're trying to keep your chin ducked on your chest and get your feet to open at horizontal. So here's some working the bounce bar, trying to get the correct shape. The first one is not the correct shape. The second one does get the shoulders over the bar better, so that's the one we would like to see. It's harder to hit the correct shape without having your feet on something, so you want to do a lot of these, trying to feel that chest should be a little bit more over the bar because that's where you're going to want to release. And always work your chin ducked on your chest. This is the first let go step, so you want to try to work the turnover before you work on going over the bar. We want to do turnover first because that is the hardest thing to do, working on the turnover. Here's another example of working the turnover first. She got a little bit better throw on the bar, a little bit higher, and good sit up and turnover. Here's a tumble tramp turnover that she's trying to do. It's a little bit harder because it doesn't bounce as high. And then so that starts to throw over the bar first. But again, like I said, always work on the sit up and turnover because that's a late turnover. It's trying to clear the bar too much and not get back to it. Here's the T trainer trying to get to a doggy. It's a little bit better. It's kind of hard again that because that bounce isn't as bouncy as the tumble track, but this is another idea of a drill. So we want to start turning it over, but as soon as it starts landing backwards again, you want to move it back forward. So you try to start going over the bar, but most important is the turnover. Here is the swing to stomach drop drill. You're going to get your toes, try to get them up and turn it over like a Shishanova. So that's a good little exercise and fun to do. The next step is to work on over flipping it. So it's fun to do, and you try to get your toes up, get them back down, and try to over flip it. The number one way we work on this first is in the belt trying to go over the bar the wrong way. So we do this quite often so they're really confident in it and they're turning over. So the faster they can turn over, the better, and then turning around is super easy after that. After they do enough of them, just turn it around and it goes over the bar super easily. Don't worry about doing the straddle because that's a little bit easier to figure out, and the turnover is the hard part, like I kept saying. So double layout dismounts have a lot of fear involved. If you do something wrong, they land on the bar. It's scary as all heck. So I also say don't teach this as your first tap for double backs because you kind of want them to rise and not do this double layout tap, which can zing them over to their back. There's a lot of double back fears and tapping because if you tap and hold on, you're landing on the bar. And we want to always talk about rising your chest higher than the level plane of the high bar because you cannot hit the bar if you let go with your shoulders under that level plane. So these straight body lowers are the pressure you need to fall on a double layout. It has to be very, very strong and powerful. So those straight body lowers, you can't do too many. In the double layout, the giant is the hardest part. So we're going to watch these giants, and the object is to get your toes to vertical before you pass the level plane of the bar. So you're trying to get your toes all the way to that 90 degree before your chest comes above the bar. Here's a few more. Hit that big arch and get your toes up super, super fast. Good pressure on the bar is the only way to get this done. That's a good one. The J set is trying to get your toes to vertical really hard, but then drop your shoulders down. So she wants to hit a really strong arch, hit his hand hard. She thought she was flipping over there, but you're trying to get your toes to the ceiling super fast and get them vertical before your chest has a chance to rise. That's the way you can do a double layout without hitting the bar. That was good if she dropped her arms back there. So on the release of the bar, you want to be flat in the back. You want to cut your toes in front. You want to get them up, and then you want the bar to ping. So that means that you let go before your chest rose to the very top of your swing. If you're holding on, it will hit the bar. So we're trying to get it to ping. So you should watch that bar ping. So we're trying to get the spotter to tap the chest so they know when to let go. Right at the level plane of the bar, and then hold the wrist so that you could pull their arm down if they happen to hold on. So the spotter roll is really important in there, so we make sure that they don't have any kind of injury. And here's our first double layout.
The most important part of the double layout are what we call L giants. You're trying to get your feet in an exact L, 90 degrees. This one's a little diagonal there, and get them up before your chest passes the plane of the bar. So you want your feet totally vertical as fast as you can, and that helps the double layout so much. It's a great exercise to use this stick and try to get you to kick in front of it, because that really helps make the double layout easy. This one is pretty good. This is what we call a J set. So what the gymnast is supposed to do is tap as hard as they can and hit the coach's hand as hard as they can, drop the shoulders back, and the coach is trying to teach them to rotate by dropping their hand back but not letting them flip over. She thought she was flipping over. This one is a lot better. She hits his hand a lot harder and drops her shoulders really hard. She just needs to put her hands back because they came forward just a little bit. It's counterintuitive because you're trying to flip low yet get your feet up really high fast. This is a drill for dropping your shoulders back. You're going to hold on, feet pointed towards the ceiling if they weren't bent over the bar, and throw your shoulders back really hard. This is the same concept, trying to flip over as fast as you can. This drill is working on cutting the feet in front, hitting a severe arch, getting your toes up fast, and dropping the shoulders really, really fast. The bar should be pinging off if you're letting go at the right time. There are so many parts of the double layout that are important. Pushing the bar hard, falling flat, cutting your toes in front, hitting a big arch, toes up, J set, dropping your shoulders really hard and flipping over, fast laying back 2 times. When spotting this skill, you want to put your hand at the level plane of the bar so they know they have to drop their shoulders right there, and you want to pull their hand down off the bar like you did on the J set in case they're holding on. If they're not, you're all good. As usual, you need to do a lot of repetitions and make sure the gymnast feels comfortable, because one pull in on the bar can scare them for a lifetime.